Hello, hello, hello. Do I have audio? Am I here? Hello. Welcome, everybody. Phew! I love that little slide in. I feel like it almost needs a thing. Am I a little washed out? I might be a little washed out. It's kind of bright outside nowadays. And it's bright outside nowadays. That's a little bit better. Because there's snow everywhere. I'm excited. Puck's excited. The snow is excited. I hope it stays like this. This type of weather is my jam. So, we're going to talk today about Oompaville and Mr. Beast, and the interview that went on, and we're going to go through the whole thing. Now, we're not going to go through the whole thing today. It's going to take us a couple of days, and in the meantime, over on Debate Hub, a video is going to come out that explains actually what philanthropy is, because I see this term thrown around a lot, and I see the term charity thrown around a lot around Mr. Beast, and I'm here to tell you he is not a philanthropist, and he is not the charity guy. He doesn't do charity. What he does is he does business with the label of charity. He's doing business. Now, is that a cynical way and not say that, like, oh, but he helps people? Helping people doesn't have to be charity. It's not exclusive. There are lots of businesses that help people. That alone does not make it, like, inherently a bad thing. I think in Mr. Beast's case, there are some very, very, very serious ethical issues around, like, both his business and his behaviors and sort of what he does. But my personal ethical issues aside are tend to not be like what is generally being discussed by people at large. So I'll probably bring it up as it comes up, but I'm not going to go too deep into it unless it comes up. When it comes to philanthropy, so philanthropy is explicitly about not making money. it's about doing works and projects that benefit society, like a group, not individuals, a group. So, like, building a library that you don't make any money off of. If you're making money off of it, it's not philanthropy. So, for example, I know people like to use Tony Stark as a self-described philanthropist. Tony Stark was a narcissist when he said that, first off. Second off, Stark Industries actually does do philanthropy through things like scholarships and through things like Stark Tech. There's like a whole like building that Stark Industries has that like high school kids are allowed to come and go from and use stuff. Yeah, inventing insulin. Yeah, so like for example, if you wanted to be philanthropic and you invented the Pfizer vaccine and you gave it to people at cost, where it's like, listen, this isn't a business, but we need to be able to make it, so we're giving it to governments at cost, and then the governments are giving it to society. Dolly Parton's book thing, that's philanthropy. Now, the thing that you build can be self-sustaining, right? So if you were to build a library and the library operated off of donations, the donations, as long as they're exclusively going to the operating costs of the library, would still count as philanthropic. But if you make YouTube videos by giving people money, that's more like a game show than charity, and it's definitively not philanthropy because you're always going to be making more money off of the product than you ever spent. Right? So again, just you can use good works to make money. Calling it charity is fucked up, and calling it philanthropy is just flat out wrong. So just to get that out the way, Mr. Beast is not a philanthropist, and he's not a charity guy. He's a guy that does good works for show to make money. That's not inherently a bad thing. You, good viewer, can make the decision whether or not you think what he is doing is a good thing or a bad thing based on your own moral and whatever compass principles. I have other ethical issues. My ethical issues tend to go around like the psychology and whether or not like what he's doing is good for YouTube via just like chasing an algorithm. But like the ethical issues of locking somebody in a what was it? A grocery store. That's the one that freaked me out the most. He locked somebody in a grocery store that he then, without telling them, turned the power off of, and was like, you stay for every like day you stay in there, you get X amount of money up into whatever, da 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 da. And then in one podcast, he said like, "Oh, this guy's already been in there for like forever, and it's I'm gonna go broke." And it's like, no, you're not. That's a lie. That's just a lie. Like the amount that man would have had to stay in there for like 500 years for him getting like $10,000 a day for Mr. Beast to go broke, and that's assuming that he made no money in between point A and point B. And then like, yeah, how much misery can you tolerate before you cry uncle, with this sort of Damocles hanging over your head, right? Like with and you get this money. So like there's a line about like the ethical manipulation of people with money, particularly in times of financial insecurity overall, and that like that's a little bit complicated. But I mean, I've seen Mr. Beast describe his videos. Every time he describes the way he makes his videos, he's like, I'm gonna torture somebody, it's fun. Like, people will love to watch that. And then there's the whole other issue of like him selling his brand to mostly children who aren't gonna understand these things. So there's also that. You have to be above board legally, or you risk undercutting all of the good you allegedly did. Yes. And then there's whether or not you're actually above the board in the good that you're actually doing. Like, there's a back and forth right now about, like, how many of those people, like, that he cured of blindness were actually, like, where that's what happened, right? That doesn't seem to be the case. There's a lot of sketch, right? There's also, like, things that Mr. Beast could do that would be philanthropic. Like, hey, there's a lot of blind people that are only not able to see because they can't afford to get this surgery that they need. So I'm going to set up a foundation to do this, and then make a video about setting up the foundation or something. But that wouldn't be as hype, and that wouldn't make him money. So he's ultimately not doing the thing that he could do that would do the most philanthropic and the most charitable work, because he wants to make money off of people's suffering, kind of. So it's like, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and I have some very serious ethical questions, but I don't think we're gonna get to that in this. Well, we'll see what we get to in this video. I shouldn't put the cart before the horse. The other thing that needs to be talked about is my position on Oompaville. So I've been watching Oompaville for a while. I don't dislike the man. I think he's funny. I don't agree with all of his takes. I think he plays it really middle of the road a lot of the time. So, for example, like, he'll be like, wow, here's this really awful thing, but I don't know, like, it looks really bad, but that's kind of as far as he usually goes. He's not usually very much like, no, this is wrong. That's not usually his take. He's very, very lukewarm in that way. And he knows that he's not a journalist. Like, he's said that in multiple videos where he's just like, I'm not a journalist. These people do journalist, and I commentate on journalist and give, like, short summaries of what's going on for people, as opposed to, like, the in-depth actual journalism that can go on. That's not him. And so I'm not entirely sure why he's doing this interview, and I'm concerned that it is going to be, like, a fluff piece, which is kind of unfortunate and disappointing. I can see what, like, it would be a hard decision, though. Like, would it be is it appropriate for this interview to be going on Oompaville's channel, which is kind of weird, right? So, like, some of the issues that Mr. Beast has is the food that he's been selling to children, as marketed as healthy, both Feastables and what's his Mr. Beast bar that he claimed, like, part of the marketing was that it was healthier than, like, Hershey's or whatever the fuck, and it's just not. And the mold inside of the Feastables, which, again, marketed towards children who may or may not be able to see or recognize mold when they get it. Then you have the issue of 2 people that work for him being considered predators. Allegedly, one of them is convicted. The other one, as far as I know, has not been. There's just been a whole lot of kerfuffle around it. And the one guy who had been convicted has been, like, shuffled around inside of his company. Then there was, like, issues of not paying people. Then there was issues of, like, rigging games. Then there was issues of, like, him hiring, like, behind the scenes, hiring his own staff to fabricate results of the games that he's running that are supposed to be fair for charities, or for like, if you do this like fear factor, you get whatever, right? There's been issues with him fraudulating, or like faking his signature to sell to people, which is like, that's just fraud. Then there's like issues of like gambling that may or may not be an issue that he's been selling to children. So like there's a lot of like, this is, I'm not saying these things definitively, I'm saying this is a laundry list of like things that need to be addressed, and some of them far more like serious than others. So there is like there's a lot going on. And to me, my question is you are a multi-millionaire, you are on the cover of Forbes, you own multiple businesses that are currently facing potential like some pretty big legal trouble, as well as like FDA issues potentially with your Feastables, as well as like a laundry list. He doesn't respond for, what, 4 months? And so now he's deciding to address this, and he goes on Oompaville's channel to do it? Like, that seems weird, right? Does that seem weird to anybody else? Like, that seems weird to me. That seems like a really bad move for somebody who should be able to afford like a proper PR team and give a proper press release. Because the only like, and the coin fabrication that he was doing with like Bitcoin NFT. I don't think it was an NFT. I think it was Bitcoin. He was doing like some Bitcoin buying and selling under the rug, like rug pulling type stuff. If you watch Coffeezilla, he talks about it a little bit more. So there's also that can get him into a lot of trouble. So I just personally find it very weird to be somebody who is so well known and is working with Amazon and that whole like health and safety fiasco, decides to finally address all this stuff except for like the lawyers that he's already been sending out around to people, but decides to address this stuff on another person's YouTube channel, but specifically a person on YouTube who explicitly is known to be a very middle of the road individual. So yeah, like pump and dump stuff, yeah. I have not seen Smoggy clip. I haven't watched the only videos that I have watched on this is I watched Oompaville's discussion with Dogpack. I watched Dogpack's video. I watched the one about the lunchies, and now I want to see Mr. Beast. I'm not interested in what, like, Drama Alert is saying, and I'm not interested in, like, what commentators are saying too much about this. I would rather... I watched the accusations, I watched the interview where questions were being asked, I watched the interview with the comedian who was like locked in a room. That's psychological torture, by the way. That's like that's illegal. You can't do that. I watched that interview. I watched that man when he said he took money from Mr. Beast. I'm glad he was above board about that. So that was nice. Mr. Beast wasn't, he was. So I've been doing my best to watch like the direct things as opposed to watching other people's opinions. I'll probably check those videos out later, but I wanted to like watch this and talk about it before I watched too much of other people's things. I think the only other one I saw Coffeezilla talk briefly about a small clip of this video. So we're going to get into this. Let's get started. I know it's a lot. It's going to be more than one day that we're going to be here watching this, but let's get started. TLDR, why is Mr. Beast on Oompaville's channel to discuss this? So for anybody interested, the link's in the description. This was from November 22nd, 2024 that it came out. There's a document. There's Soggy's video, Dawson's video, videos, plural. Then there's some Mr. Beast resources. It says something about refunds, so I guess we'll see what we're on about with that. Logan's Paul tweet from factory showing machine scanning for lead. Like, what the fuck? Choosing to work with KSI and Logan Paul probably tells you all you need to know about Mr. Beast, but, you know, whatever. Maybe that's splitting hairs. So let's see what he has to say.
Are you going to sue Dogpack?
Well,
Mr. Beast is currently on a private jet on his way to where I live in Central Texas to have a conversation with me with the intention of addressing the controversy that he has been involved in over the last few months. And I think that it is important for me to document my intentions before embarking on this risky and difficult task. I am not Scott Pelley. I am not a hard-hitting genius investigative journalist. I'm a YouTuber with a medium-sized platform. I am currently doing journalism, to be fair, but I am goofy, all right? Also, back in August, I platformed Dogpack, and out of fairness, I feel that it is important to do the same for Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast.
All right. Couple of notes. Doing an interview doesn't make you a journalist. Doing journalism I'll take his word for it that he is doing his best to try to have done the research, to have his notes, to have his shit together for asking these questions. I am 100% willing to give Oompaville a large amount of charity. Two things though. First off, fairness. Mr. Beast has a massive platform. To try to pretend that whether or not he appears on your channel makes it fair to Mr. Beast is absurd. That's ridiculous. That's not even remotely, like, reasonable at all. And that, to me, sounds like you're just trying to justify what you're doing. But my next question is, okay, so, but why are you the one doing this? Why isn't there a journalist and a professional interviewer doing this? Mr. Beast isn't some random YouTuber. He makes millions of dollars, as does KSI, as does Logan Paul, and they are potentially putting children in considerable danger. So why did Oompaville take this interview? I'm not gonna say whether or not I think he should or shouldn't, or whether or not I would or wouldn't. It's a really hard decision to make, I think. If one of the biggest people on the platform comes to you and says, hey, talk to me, have me on your channel so I can answer these criticisms. But Oompaville wasn't the one making the accusations in the first place, right? He simply covered videos that were already happening, and he was very, again, middle of the road about it. And so, like, why did you, please let me pick your brain for a second. This would have been a very, very difficult decision to make, so I would love to know why you made this decision. I would love to know. But, alright, go on.
Beast has agreed to keep an open line of communication. He'll only be here for a little bit, which is crazy because he's flying halfway across the country. And he and his team have agreed to provide us with evidence and information to give proof to claims so we can actually be as transparent here as possible. The goal of this video is not for it to please everyone or gotcha somebody. It is for this video to be a meaningful source of information. So to future me and you currently viewing, I'm sure I missed some questions, but I absolutely did my best and I stand behind the result, maybe. And I look forward to seeing the comments and criticism. Firstly, would you be willing to put your hand on this Bible and swear?
Oh my gosh, you actually have a Bible?
I have two Bibles.
Are you being serious?
I am being serious.
Okay.
I'm swearing. We're both from the South. This will be an honest video.
Oh, your laptop's blocking it.
Oh, whoops. This will be an honest video. You're a man from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia.
The Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt,
yep.
Exactly.
I know what this means.
This means it's legit.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
I was not expecting that. Okay.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they didn't cover the Dr. Pepper. I kind of thought they would like not have Dr. Pepper being like, oh shit.
This is like legal now.
It is. I can go to jail.
The first biggest...
That's not a good... It's legal now. Incorrect. When you run a business, you are always dealing with legalities. If you hire people, you are going to be dealing with legalities. If you are trying to sell products, you are dealing with legalities. This has always been legal for Mr. Beast. As soon as he made like, he's also got that legal stuff going on with, like, the burger and shit like that. Why would the first thing? I could go to jail, okay? Why? What, like, the first, like, I think that's a great way to start a video, but don't cut away from that. The first, like, as soon as he says that, you gotta be all in and be like, I'm sorry, why do you think you're facing jail for this? For people criticizing you? Is it because that is immediately a tacit admission that these people have a point, or at least a point that could be argued enough legally. Which is, like, a massive admission. That's... Huh? What? Good God. What a way to start. Okay.
Biggest question for me and a lot of people that I've spoken to over the last couple months is, like, why were you so silent? Especially off the bat. Like, you did respond to the Ava Tyson stuff immediately, but, like, you know, right after that, a bunch of other stuff came out, and Dawson's video, his first video, gained a bunch of traction. What was your reasoning for being so silent immediately?
Yeah, it's a great question to kick it off on. You actually kind of laid out the timeline there. The Ava stuff came out, and I put out that tweet. We hired the investigators to go look into it, and part of that investigation is they recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything online because it might influence, you know, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees. So it's a little unfortunate because I told them, okay, I'll wait till the investigation is over. And I believe that was.
And we've started hit the ground running with bullshit. All right, so let me explain why this sounds like bullshit to me. 2 reasons. Not 3 reasons. Maybe 4 reasons. A few reasons. First off, the investigation into Ava is one issue. These other issues are now separate issues. So you can address these other issues without impacting this investigation, right? These are separate things that Mr. Beast is putting together, conflating. Second off, you have another issue here where then why didn't you say there's an investigation, I'm waiting to, like, there's background stuff going on, I'm waiting to speak? Because that would be addressing it. Right? Reasons equal greater than 1. A non-zero. There's you can make a statement without, like, this is bullshit. He could have easily put out a generalized PR statement that says, there's an ongoing investigation, I am more than happy to look at this criticism and address this as soon as that investigation is complete, pending the results. Done. That's addressing that's an umbrella way to address everything. Again, this is a rich person. He's not just some dude that everybody likes to treat him like he's just some guy. He is not. He has shitloads of money. He can hire as many PR teams as he wants. He can do what he wants, and he's just choosing not to. And he chose to be here. So, like, what? What? Ridiculous.
It was literally like a week before the dog pack video came out. And then, truthfully, just in transparency, I've never done one of these, like, big investigations before. And in my head, it was going to last like 2 or 3 weeks. It ended up taking a couple months, apparently combing through all the documents and doing all the interviews and everything. Just took way longer than I thought because I've never had to bring in a top tier law firm and a former federal prosecutor and let him, do this really big thing.
So you didn't do your research and didn't know what you were doing. So that's it's just an excuse. That's still not a reason to not give a thing. This is bullshit. We're already like 3 layers of bullshit in. I had to hire all these people and I thought it was only going to be a minute and then it took longer, and so I still chose not to do anything, and I still chose not to put out a general statement. I still chose to not do that. This is excuses. This isn't an actual reason. This is waffling.
And so that kind of concluded a couple weeks ago when I put out the tweet of the follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, that was the day I got the conclusion of it. And I was like, okay, in transparency, I'll throw this out. So up until that point, it was, I had told Quinn Emanuel that, to protect the integrity, I wouldn't do anything or engage any of this drama. And then after that, yeah, like you said, a lot of...
Again, we're back to do not dismiss some of these criticisms as drama. Some of these criticisms and questions are very big legal issues. There's already a clip in here where you said you could go to jail. The Feastable stuff, where there is mold being sold to children in food form, is not drama. You having sex offenders working for you who are sex offenders towards children, that your channel and business is directed at children, is a big issue. That's not drama. Treating it at your flippant language is problematic for what's being addressed, right? Alleged sex offenders, to be clear. I don't know. I wasn't there.
A lot of stuff had come out between when the investigation started and when it ended, and I was just kind of like, whoa, I don't really know how to hit this stuff. And I made like a little response video, but that's just kind of not my style, where I just kind of put a lot of the information that I assume we're going to talk about here out, and it just felt weird. Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I've never been in a situation where people have thrown this much stuff at me, and I definitely could have handled it better. Like, I probably should have, the second I could have talked, I don't remember the exact date, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we put that report out, probably should have done something like this right then. If I could go back in time, I would. And yeah, that's kind of like the brain dump, and then here I am.
Yeah, so I was going to ask...
None of that was, really an answer. There's a lot of answers, in between the lines, but that wasn't, but why didn't you? Because you were overwhelmed? Is that why? You didn't address any of this stuff, and you were like, well, I'll just address it after the investigation. And then when the investigation was done, by the time it was over, there was a bunch of other shit, and you just didn't know what to do? And so you did nothing? What are you talking about? So your response is to go onto Oompaville's channel to use him to gaslight people? Because that's what it sounds like. I'm not gonna be very charitable to Mr. Beast. I don't believe him. He doesn't come off as earnest. The language he's using is already super duper problematic. His cadence and the way he's already addressed this is shifting responsibility off of himself as much as possible, right? Well, I didn't address it because I thought this investigation would be fast, and then I hired these very professional people, and they took a really long time, so it's not my fault I didn't answer. It was their fault for taking so long. These very professional people. If I could go back in time, I would do it differently. Okay, how? Oh, no, he doesn't say that, because he wouldn't. He doesn't. He hasn't even considered what he would do differently.
You answered it towards the end, but do you regret that? Obviously.
Yeah. If I could go back in time, I would do what we're doing here, because I assume this is the correct format. It's going to be a little bit more free flowing and natural, and I wouldn't have wasted so much time trying to do a response. It's just not my thing. I like so much better. Or I'm assuming. I mean, we just started, but I think I'm gonna like so much better being asked the questions and answer it instead of just sitting in a chair like this answering it. It just feels a little more natural.
Gotcha.
You have a ton of people working for you. You could have had one of your guys asking the questions. You didn't have to wait for an outside source to do it for you. And again, if you wanted somebody who was a journalist to ask you these questions, to address this drama, then why wouldn't you get a journalist? You could. You're big enough, you're rich enough. These are big enough accusations, big enough criticisms. So again, you chose to go to somebody who is inexperienced. Which he admitted at the beginning of this video. He's like, I'm inexperienced at this, I'm gonna do my best. Which I appreciate that he's upfront about that. I don't know why he said yes, but I don't know. But like, sir, do you think we don't know bullshit when we hear it? You don't do accountability? It's not your thing to put out concise information, and you're not willing to hire somebody who can with your oodles and oodles of money? Instead, you go to a random YouTuber to do it for you, who's admittedly not, this isn't his thing either, and you think this is going to be the best way forward, is the best way to deal with this is going to have an inexperienced person who doesn't know what they're doing talking to an inexperienced person who doesn't know what they're doing? This isn't taking accountability, this isn't answering things, and this isn't going to resolve anything. All this is going to do is do more of the problematic thing. All this is going to do is poison the well and muddy the water. Let me know if you guys see him actually answer a question. Alright? If he directly answers like any question with like just as simple yes and here's why, or no and here's why, you tell me, because I might not catch it.
Yeah, I mean that definitely, you know, that does line up obviously with what's happened, and it makes sense. And I definitely, you know, I feel like, you know, before talking to you, I definitely would imagine that you would regret have not making a response early.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like that, because that you could have just immediately, if there is information to debunk Dogpack's his first video off the bat.
Yeah, which obviously had so much disinformation in it. If anyone's...
Then why haven't you done that? We're still here, and you're sitting here having an interview and not doing that. Why are we here? What are we doing? You could have just hired a YouTuber who does this type of thing. Obviously, there's so much disinformation in that. Yeah, sure, such as, like, then address it and address it directly. A conversation isn't going to debunk things. A video that is similar to Dogpack's videos might be able to do that, but then why wouldn't MrBeast? If MrBeast is not competent to be able to make a clear and concise video with that information and a one-to-one debunk, then work with a creator who does do that. Not, oh, send other creators out to defend you, like Keemstar or whatever. Sit down with a creative type who does debunks and do it with them. I still not convinced you should be doing this on YouTube. Yeah, just to suffer. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Saw Sagi's video or any of the newer videos now coming out. Like you would
we'll
see
get to
so
that
much.
too, yeah.
Yeah, so much of it. So it's...
Yeah, I'm not going to go to a third party to get this information. If you want to debunk it, you debunk it. Because you're the only one who's going to have that information. So, we're not playing with pawns here. You're the king of the castle. You fucking put that shit out. Like I said, I specifically did not watch any additional commentary videos because I wanted everything directly, which is why I watched the Dogpack video directly, which is why I watched the video that the Feastables had mold in it directly. I didn't watch commentary about this interview. I watched like the accusations from CoffeeZilla, or like the Coffee, I shouldn't say accusations. He was a little bit more lenient than that. He was a little bit more like, okay, this looks really bad though. About like specifically crypto stuff. So again, direct source. So I'm coming to MrBeast, the direct source, in his interview where he's supposed to be dealing with this, and he's telling me to go watch some other asshole's video. It makes me think that the reason you're not doing this is because you can't, which is not probably what you want. That's not the response you're looking for, I assume. The response is that you want to instill confidence that you could do it, but you already said you're not competent. So...
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it happened on the back end of when I said I would not talk about or address drama and things, and I mean... There's obviously...
Oh, yeah, how convenient. Exceptions can't be made, obviously, once MrBeast has made a decision. That's it.
Yeah, should have done this sooner. Whoops, but hey, better late than never.
Yeah. Did you think it would get
Whoops! Oops. No, that's good God. All right, sure. Go on.
this big?
No, I mean, truthfully, I thought, like, if you watch Soggy's video or any of these other videos that are coming out now showing all the discrepancies, I honestly thought a lot of people would find, like, the information proving the dishonesty earlier.
The Google?
Yeah, like, because a lot of this could have been, just figure out Google. A lot of this could, and now, I also have to be clear, like.
And now I'm insulted because I waited to hear directly from the source, i.e. Mr. Beast. I'm the asshole for not Googling something? What am I supposed to be Googling? What in the fuck? No, that's actually insulting. He has yet to answer anything yet. And I'm just I figured people would do their own research about what were people supposed to research? Whether or not he put special effects in his videos? Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Whether or not you actually had that guy locked in a room for days and then had him running on a treadmill where you weren't even willing to turn the lights off for him while you ostensibly kept him in solitary confinement with a loud fucking ice cream machine that, if he turned it off, smelled like complete garbage because it was like ice cream. Like, you tortured that man, period. That is what you did for content. What am I supposed to Google? What am I supposed to Google about this guy that you had working with you that is supposedly a sex offender? What am I supposed to Google about that? What am I supposed to Google about the number of people, the plethora of people that say you cheated the games, and they've explained exactly how? And if you watch the videos, yeah, that tracks. What am I Googling? Like, fuck you.
I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying I've never done anything wrong, and you can't criticize me. Like, there are things I deserve criticism for, and I'm sure we'll get to some of those things in here. But there are a lot of things that are just not true. And, on those things, like, I mean, we'll just get to it throughout this because I'm sure you're going to ask me the questions. But there's just a lot of disinformation that was easily proved wrong. Like, the big one that, videos with tens of millions of views collectively, claiming I called a guy Delaware because he committed a crime in Delaware. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, that was already considered a stretch and was not really the biggest accusation. Like, that's really very little to nothing. Like, even in Dogpack's video, from what I recall, he's like, this is circumstantial at best. This and this, and I can't confirm it. That is probably one of the easiest things that Mr. Beast could have picked. One of the easiest things that ended up being confirmed later that this dude was on a registry. So you picked something that was later confirmed. About whether or not that's why you personally call him Delaware is irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Doesn't matter. This, again, we're back to literally the weakest point that was already admittedly an incredibly weak point that was circumstantial, unconfirmed, and isn't really that important regardless. That, exactly, Jessica, thank you. That is why he picked it. The one that he picks up off the top of his head is this random bullshit that is like the least of the important points and things. Manya from the chat also says, also about reusing footage in his charity projects that may point towards him and his team cutting corners and lying to his audience. This is... Yikes. I would say Dogpack accusing people of domestic violence or essay at work. Dogpack should have had solid evidence. Well, for the... we're not going to get into criticizing Dogpack's video right now. There are issues with that video. There are things that we can discuss, but I'm not going to get into it here because I want to focus on this one. So I'm not going to say Dogpack's video was perfect, and I'm not going to say that I would have done things the same way. I think there are parts about the video that are good, parts about the video that are bad. Some stuff that's like eyebrow raising, and other things that are like, wow, that's a big fucking problem. So going after the easy stuff so he doesn't have to address the important things. Well, let's see what Oompaville says. Let's see how he nods in agreement, which is what my guess. I guess he's going to be like, yeah, right. That's what I think he's going to say.
You know, that is not true. His name was just Delaware. I didn't, call him Delaware to make fun of him or anything. And I mean, I'm sure you're going to ask about it later, yeah. but like there's literally
see what I say. Yeah. Yeah, but I wasn't caught smoking behind the gym at school, so I definitely couldn't have been the one that set fire to the town hall. Yeah, right.
He was in a video before I hired him working at Best Buy wearing a name tag that said Delaware. Mm-hmm. And like that was public information. And like, anyone could have saw that. And like even during when that was like getting shared a lot a couple months ago, I even sent that to a couple YouTubers. I was like, hey, just so you know, like I didn't call him Delaware because of this messed up thing. Like that was just his name and here's proof. Mm-hmm. And
so you did address these accusations. You just addressed them to other big content creators in the background to give them ammo on this other video that had way bigger issues in it. That is an interesting accidental admission that he always had the intention of responding, just not directly. He wanted other people to do it for him, which is why he likely just called out Soggy's video, right? He wouldn't need to call out Soggy's video if they're actually going to address the things in this video, right? TLDR, Mr. Beast has a long laundry list of issues, and he's been silent on the criticisms and things he's been accused of. Some things with more evidence than others, and he hasn't addressed any of those things for like 4 months, give or take, and this is the first time he decided to speak on it, and he went to go to a YouTuber who is not a journalist, who admittedly doesn't know what he is doing when it comes to this kind of thing, but is trying his best to do an interview to ask him about this stuff so he can answer, which, again, is not an information dump, it is not a debunk, it is an interview where, so far, no pushback. Admittedly, we're not very far in. We're only 6 minutes in, so we'll see. I'm giving Oompaville every amount of, like, everything I feel like I can give him, fairly.
And, I guess I probably shouldn't say the name of the creators, but like one of them literally just said to me like,
why? Why shouldn't you say the name of the creators? They were people that you gave information to so they could defend you on your behalf based off of a really shaky point. Why wouldn't you want to put their names out? They're the ones that you gave the truth to, right? What's the problem? Why would you not want to share their names? Does anybody in the side chat have any ideas as to why Mr. Beast would not want, if this is like all above board and all totally normal information that you pass to these people, why you wouldn't want people to know who they were?
Like, well, it's not really cool to like you or defend you right now, so I don't really care whether or not it's true, or I don't want to take the video down because then people are gonna think I'm controlled opposition. I was like, whoa. And then also like that.
So they rejected you because they said it wasn't cool to defend you right then? Listen, hear me out. First off, that sucks. That's rough. Second off, now you know who not to trust about putting out legitimate information, which now because it shouldn't matter as long as that information is true and accurate, and can be verified, then the source and the truth should matter more. But clearly it doesn't to these content creators. So why are you protecting them? Maybe because he gave them more information than just what he's talking about? Maybe. It's all that comes to my mind is birds of a feather flock together until the cat comes. It's not cool. You mean they would have to be defending some really heinous shit? Maybe the information you gave them wasn't good enough? Because again, we're just having to take Mr. Beast's word for it, right? This isn't a video with a debunk that has information in it.
That same photo.
Maybe they looked at the evidence he sent, realized it was bullshit, and wouldn't back him up, so they don't want people finding them in their videos. Yeah, but why is Mr. Beast the one protecting them? They might not want that. Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, you mean that they didn't want to put the video out explaining this stuff because they weren't convinced by what Mr. Beast sent them. So you're talking about the external stuff. Yeah, I see. Sorry, my mistake. I misread that. Or I misinterpreted that and then fixed it. There we go. Got it. All right, moving on. But yeah, very possible.
To like you or defend you right now, so I don't really care whether or not it's true, or I don't want to take the video down because then people are going to think I'm controlled opposition.
I don't think this is true. Like, if you get betrayed by people like that, generally you have some kind of an emotional, like, reaction to it. Look at the way he speaks on this. There is no inflection change. There's no, like, indication that he feels, like, bothered by this at all.
Like, one of them literally just said to me, like, well, it's not really cool to like you or defend you right now, so I don't really care whether or not it's true, or I don't want to take the video down because then people are going to think I'm controlled opposition. I was like, whoa. And then also, like, that same photo, are you going to,
Like, he doesn't care. So clearly he's telling us this like it's a big deal. Like, people hid, like, there were YouTubers, commentators that had this information and chose not to give it to you, but he doesn't care. Like, he's telling you this like it's a big deal, but he doesn't seem to give a shit. And yeah, and he doesn't name anybody. The thing is, there seems to be a reason he A, talks about sending people information, but B, doesn't say the people's names. Yeah. It's like, maybe part of this is true, but it doesn't come off very earnestly. So yeah, he puts the picture up.
I'm controlled opposition. I was like, whoa. And then also, like, that same photo, are you gonna like throw some things on the screen for them?
Definitely.
Yeah, so throw it on the screen. That same photo, right after that second dog pack video, started to get traction on Reddit and saying like, hey, this is a lie. Jimmy didn't call him Delaware to make fun of him, you know, committing a crime in Delaware. That's just his name. And
that's also not inherently necessarily the case anyway, right? You could do both. Like, the problem with the Delaware comment is that it's inconclusive regardless, and that was what was said initially anyway. Also, why is this guy working at Best Buy with a Best Buy shirt in a Mr. Beast video where it says, I gave $20,000 to random homeless people? This is already a video of this guy working for Mr. Beast. In 2018. This isn't he just presented this as if the guy was already just working at a Best Buy and then he decided to hire him. You do realize people put their nicknames on their shirts? Like, you can do that? So, like, if I went and got a fucking Best Buy shirt for a skit, I could get Chesh put on it? Like, this isn't definitive. Is anybody else sniffing bullshit here? You're telling me that this, like, what? I mean, I might be willing to believe that everybody called this guy Delaware, and so he was like, oh, that was just his name, that was just his nickname, so I called him that. It wasn't because I was, like, making fun of him because of his nickname, but that's not the criticism either. The criticism was that the reason this guy was called Delaware was because of this other thing. So he's already going out of his way to misrepresent such an easily bullshit thing in the first place. He's not saying he didn't know about this guy's issues, by the way, if you notice that. He's just saying, oh, well, I wasn't trying to make fun of him. That was just his name. Somebody's name could be Cocaine Steve, and you might call him Cocaine Steve. Not because you intend to make fun of him, and maybe he doesn't do cocaine anymore, but his nickname is Cocaine Steve. Because he used to do cocaine. That changes nothing. This is nothing. This is a nothing burger. His big one that he started with off the top of his head is fucking nothing. Unbelievable. Oh my god. How do you fuck this up? Didn't he just say there was a bunch of easily debunked disinformation? What the fuck is this? The clip and the picture are from a Mr. Beast video, which means he already knew who this guy was. Do I have to go... I'm sorry, I must need to Google it. I must have to go through and see if I can find somebody named Delaware who worked in Best Buy and check their records of employment. By the way, working at a Best Buy doesn't mean you don't have a criminal record. That's not how that works. You're allowed to have a criminal record and still have a job. Like, this, again, doesn't address the criticisms. Not only does it not address the criticisms, it picks the lowest level of circumstantial criticism that was already said that it was like, this is circumstantial and I can't confirm this, and then even has to go out of its way to twist that into a criticism that it never actually was. Like, if you can't even deal with what you believe is the easiest one to debunk, and then you have to go this hard to try to debunk something that was already, again, admittedly, circumstantial and unverified? Like, doth the lady protest too much?
Video started to get traction on Reddit and saying like, hey, this is a lie. Jimmy didn't call him Delaware to make fun of him, committing a crime in Delaware. That's just his name. And it got taken down by the mods on r/YouTube drama. And that's when I realized, like, oh, anytime there's a post proving like that I'm not evil, that
doesn't prove that. It doesn't address it at all. In fact, it's actually misinformation, which is probably why the Reddit mods took it down, because it doesn't actually address the point. It's also possible that the comments got really, really vitriolic, because a lot of Jimmy's fan base is very, very vitriolic. Best Buy might require their employees to be bondable. That's possible. Yes, I don't know. It's also like, if you're doing a skit inside of a Best Buy, then it's not unlikely that you would have a costume of a Best Buy that would have your fucking nickname on it. Like, this doesn't prove anything. This doesn't prove you're not evil. This is a really shitty example of gaslighting. That's all this is.
They were taking it down. So it was a little unfortunate too, because I wasn't saying anything. And then on Reddit, anytime something was proving that I wasn't evil or, contrarian to what everyone was saying,
Funny that you said that twice. I'd have 2 nickels. Weird. It's like, that's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Why did you repeat yourself like that?
A crime in Delaware, that's just his name. And it got taken down by the mods on r/YouTube drama. And that's when I realized, like, oh, anytime there's a post proving like that I'm not evil, they were taking it down. So it was a little unfortunate too, because I wasn't saying anything. And then on Reddit, anytime something was proving that I wasn't evil or, contrarian to what everyone was saying, they were.
I'm curious to know who edited this. Did Oompaville edit this, or did Mr. Beast's team edit it, or did Oompaville have to edit it and then send it through Mr. Beast's team for approval? I'm not saying Oompaville is bad for having to do that. That's just a thing that you have to do sometimes in this, like, style of video, in this type of a scenario. So, there's that. But I'm curious to know, because first off, you noticed that was an edit. There was a clip in there where it cut, but it was a cut and then it repeated the same thing, like, almost verbatim. So I'm wondering who did the editing of this and decided to put that there, because you could just cut that.
suppressing it or censoring it, not
Right,
trying to sound extreme.
So you're saying it's like a echo chamber, which, I mean, Reddit, r/YouTube drama is...
Yeah, I know, but it's unfortunate when there's a post with 10,000 upvotes claiming something false about you, and then everyone, then a couple people are like, wait, that's not true, here's proof, and then they delete it every time, so then everyone's like, okay, well then that must be...
And now you're suggesting that they deleted it instantly. If they deleted it instantly, how did you see it? So again, we're back to misdirection. The video doesn't do what you claim it does. It doesn't show what you claim it does. It doesn't prove that you're not evil. It doesn't actually prove anything. And so if the video doesn't prove anything, then it makes sense that the Reddit mods wouldn't want it there. And that doesn't even matter because maybe the Reddit mods removed it for other reasons. You don't know why they removed it. You're imposing a reason onto them why they removed it. And listen, Reddit has issues with the way it works and the way its moderators are, and all that's well and good and fine and whatever. We can agree about that. But you are putting intention onto people that you have no way of actually knowing. For all you know, the post got locked and removed for violating different rules. And that could have been mundane rules. It could have been like, oh, this isn't tagged properly or flared properly. And so it got removed, which has nothing to do with censoring you. It has to do with the people who are trying to defend you being competent about their posting. And if they never reposted it with the proper flag, how do we know the Reddit mods removed it and the person didn't delete it? Do you have evidence of that? Or is that just your claim? I'm saying that because I don't know. I came here to hear your side of the story, and you're feeding me bullshit. Obvious bullshit at that. Again, if you're gonna lie to me, at least lie to me well. People lie. That happens. Like, we're humans. We're not perfect, right? That's what he said earlier. People lie. You're gonna lie, or you're gonna at least represent things in a way that makes you look the best. But if this is the way representing something makes you look the best, and it already looks this bad, like, this is... Guys, this is not good. Oh, this is not good at all.
Be true because they're also deleting the comments on that post that prove it's not. So then then it's just like, now, you know, I'm not...
Prove it. Show me where that was happening. I might be willing to believe you, but prove it.
Trying to sound extreme, but it's just like, oh, you're censoring information. And then that paired with other YouTubers, when I would call them and share it with them, they'd just be like, well, I don't want to be Mr. Beast Glazer, so I don't really... You know, they wouldn't...
So that's the second time he's brought that up as well now. And, well, Oompaville is sitting here smiling while he's taking that insult, because that is Jimmy implying that that's what Oompaville is doing, by the way. Okay.
I wouldn't say it this direct, but they would just essentially say, like, I don't really care if it's true or not. I'm just going to say what other people say, like, sorry.
Do you have evidence of, like, people, there being posts that existed and then didn't exist on Reddit that got...
Oh, of course. Yeah, okay, I can send you...
Yeah, if you...
Oh my god. Evidence of this is linked in the document below. You couldn't throw up a screenshot? You put this up instead? Oh, good god, alright. How many viruses am I gonna get? Mr. Beast provided evidence. Okay. Go away. Who else is in here? Other anonymouses. Alright. Some form of statement, documentation, acknowledgement from Quinn Emanuel about going through the communication. Everything in this statement was written by Quinn Emanuel and covers what you asked for. Is there any documentation showing a standard operating procedure for HR? How many of your videos have you used CGI in? The link for refunds to a lot. Is there proof of people leaving immediately after arriving at challenges when learning they get paid regardless of participation? Receipts and pictures that show he was... Oh, here we go. Do you have any examples of YouTube drama censoring and deleting positive posts about MrBeast and negative posts about his detractors? Here are tweets from people who are not me making these claims. Okay, well, that's not a good start. Because that's other people. Well, okay, doesn't exist. Oh, there we go. MrBeast drama subreddit caught censoring people defending MrBeast. So that's drama alert. And then the details, which I assume are the same as these ones. Oh, not quite. All right, hold on. Details. First, it was falsely accusing James Warren, Jimmy, of domestic violence and animal abuse. Then it was falsely reporting on the fake Lunchley recall. Now the alleged CP shared in a group chat wasn't, in fact, CP. Dogpack404 and Rosanna have shown time and time again to prioritize immediate attention and clout over any serious fact-checking or journalistic integrity. Well, not journalists. I'm amazed anybody takes them seriously. Comment post list removed for misinformation. The video was to prove that MrBeast did know, not to prove Ava posted CP. This was just stuff he shared in the work Telegram server. So yeah, that's not... Yeah, no, that's fine. Breaking. Dogpack can't take personal responsibility because other people were talking about a different person in a chat a year ago. 18 minutes ago. Sorry, this post has been removed by moderators. YouTube moderator says, the mods will handle this post. If you have any questions, please contact moderators about the removal. Okay? That doesn't prove what Jimmy said. And now this thing is claiming that other people made these claims, not even him. All right, let's check the next one. The rogue YouTube drama moderator who had a mental breakdown about me, this is Nicholas Diorio, is now in change of deleting / condensing threads down discussing Soggy Cereal's MrBeast video. His caption of choice is, quote, the video has some weird stuff in it, here's the important stuff surrounding it. So that's not censoring, that's posting the video and sharing it. That's the opposite. This drama has been posted within the subreddit before. Okay, so they're getting rid of stuff that's taking up space. All right, that's still not censoring it. Does this video hold any weight? Question mark. Dogpack lied about something. Comment. This post was removed due to lack of context. Please provide a description of the drama and people involved before reposting. Please contact mods with any questions. So it's exactly what I said. YouTuber Rosanna Pansio smokes marijuana grown from her father's ashes as she fulfills his dying wish. This drama has been posted in the subreddit before. We've removed it 3 times. This isn't drama. It's weird. That's true. That's not drama. Genuine question to the people who hate MrBeast with such a passion. Why? This is not drama, redundant post. Soggy Cereal and Dogpack. Locked post. No new comments can be posted. Sorry, this post has been removed by the moderators. Keep all discussions of the topic within the related mega thread. Use the search bar or check pinned to find the mega thread. MrBeast responds on time. Works video... What? Responds on a Timeworks video calling Dogpack a liar. Keep all discussion of the topic related to a mega thread. I thought he claimed that positive claims were about him were removed. Yeah, guess not. Should we still trust Rosanna Pansino? This is not drama. Comment removed by moderator. This comment has been removed due to trolling. Even then, Soggy calls out stuff MrBeast is doing, one of which is the crypto scam. MrBeast alleging that allegations that seemingly have no evidence. Comments / posts have been removed for misinformation. Dogpack versus accountability. This is not enough drama to warrant a new post on the situation. So go back to the mega thread. This part of the video made me lose faith in Dogpack. This drama has been posted within the subreddit before. When did Rosanna Pansino become a drama channel? This is not drama. Update from Dogpack about the alleged CP that MrBeast in Telegram chat logs. Link to the text. Blah, 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 blah. Context. In the latest Rosanna Pansino video, she worked with Dogpack to talk about the chat logs from MrBeast Telegram. One of the posts contests, it was an image Ava sent, she described at CP. Update, I've received the original source of the Ivanka photo. It's from April 2000, British GQ magazine photo shoot. Surprisingly, it was actually her and she was 18 at the time. I am sure now people will flip and say I should have reverse image searched the photo more before going to the authorities, the media. Also, RO first visited the FBI before filming the YouTube video. Another lie that is being spread. Everything was handled in accordance with the law. And again, RO and I never reported Ava's allegations of 13 as fact. I showed what Ava alleged. I showed the law and said that if it was actually a 13-year-old, it would constitute a CP in my opinion. Other people ran CP as fact, not us. Comment has been removed for misinformation. The video was to prove that Mr. Beast did know, not to prove that Ava posted CP. This was just stuff shared in the, Comment removed by moderator. There is more evidence that Ava is a PDF than just that screenshot. Rosa Pansino live reacting to what she considers child porn seems tone deaf, ? This drama has been posted within the subreddit before. Dogpack deleted his... So yeah, Mr. Beast was bullshitting. Why did I have to go digging through this document, which I think is a good doc, like, it's fine to have that document put together, but why is this edited like this? Does Mr. Beast know that there are third-party ways to still see recently deleted posts on Reddit? I don't think he cares. I think his main complaint is that him and his followers, or like the people who are defending him, weren't able to flood the subreddit with bullshit. That's what he's mad about. So that was just a fucking lie. The evidence that shows this doesn't show that at all. So how many people are going to take Mr. Beast's word? My favorite thing, though, about that is definitely got to be this is other people alleging that this thing happened. Well, so what? Mr. Beast alleged that thing happened in this video. So are we going to pretend that he didn't just lie to everybody? Because that was just a straight up lie. Clearly things were removed for other reasons, not because they were supporting Mr. Beast. So, slander to the Reddit mods, I guess. Again, Reddit has issues. A lot of Reddit moderators have issues, and sometimes power trip problems. So what?
Simi, anything
you could throw it up
that.
on screen. I mean, that's not like a conspiracy theory. That's
of course, yeah. Just,
It's a lie. You're using the reputation that Reddit mods will do this kind of thing and using that to claim that they're doing that to you, and you don't have any evidence that they did that to you. All of the evidence shows that they actually explicitly did not do that to you. So, that's a lie.
We can find quite a few.
I'm not that good at using Google. So
yeah.
I'll need you to help me with that. Yeah, so to circle back to the Quinn Emanuel investigation, the big thing on the internet, on Twitter specifically, was that you found yourself to be innocent. Of course, you paid a law firm to find yourself innocent.
I saw those memes, yeah.
There's the big meme. How would you respond to the allegation that the investigation was biased from the start?
Yeah. So... first off, to just set the foundation, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, of course, Jimmy did an internal investigation, found himself, they didn't find any wrong.
Oh, what was that you were saying about Google? You couldn't get a clearer screenshot of that one? I don't know if you guys can tell how blurry that is. A 3-month investigation into allegations regarding my company has concluded. The law firm investigators reviewed millions of documents / messages and conducted 39 interviews. I was asked to refrain from making public statements to enable a detailed and unbiased investigation. Show more that we can't see. Document that we can't read.
Wrongdoing, which is also not true, which I assume we'll go into that more later. They did find some wrongdoing, just not in regards to like the serious Ava allegation. So,
all right. The investigation produced the following significant findings. Allegations of sexual misconduct, e.g., pedophilia, grooming, child pornography, etc., between company employees and minors are without basis. The allegations were soundly rejected, including by alleged victims. Allegations of the company knowingly employing individuals with proclivities or history towards legal or questionable legal content are similarly without basis. Here, too, the allegations were uniformly rejected. Several isolated instances of workplace harassment and misconduct were identified during the investigation. The company was informed of such conduct and took swift and appropriate actions to address the incidents, including, where necessary, disciplining or letting go of implicated individuals. So that's what that says. So on with the, yes, we've investigated ourselves and we've given ourselves a slap on the wrist.
That's a, false truth. And then on top of that, it wasn't an internal investigation. It was an external investigation, which was clearly laid out in the things we showed.
Yeah, a third-party investigation.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
okay, so that's people getting terms mixed up. There's a difference between like a third-party investigation and an internal investigation, and if you hired lawyers to do the investigation as opposed to, right? So the concern for bias is coming from you hired a law firm to make sure you were legally in the clear or addressed whatever you legally felt you needed to do. Not an investigation to actually be transparent about things, right? That's what people are criticizing you for. So again, we're back to the same problem. This doesn't actually address the criticism. It takes the criticism, it twists it a little bit, addresses a little part of it, and then uses that part that they address to twist it more to change what the criticism, to change what they're presenting, that what the criticism actually was. And I find it a little bit concerning that Oompaville isn't calling any of it out so far.
it is a little bit of a, a lot of people I saw were saying well, you paid them. And it's like, well, yeah, top tier lawyers and federal prosecutors don't work for free. So I have to pay them.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That's not that. Again, you paid lawyers. They're your lawyers. You hire lawyers. They work for you. Therefore, an investigation done by a third party isn't really a third party if it's your lawyers that did it, that you hired. That's not quite right. That's not quite how that works.
I don't really know how to debunk that one. I mean, it just is what it is.
Because you can't, because the criticism is legitimate and fair. So what you need to do is address it, which is the whole point and the reason why you said you were here. So address it. You have multiple ways of doing so. You could be like, yeah, bring, if people want to send in another team to do an investigation, sure. They're more than welcome and will cooperate. Do that then.
But yeah, we hired Quinn Emanuel, which is one of the top law firms in the world. It was very expensive, but I intentionally picked them because they have a reputation and they're not just going to destroy their entire business to be biased towards me. You know what I mean? And then it was
what do you think lawyers do, Jimmy? What do you think? What do you think lawyers do?
Led by a former federal prosecutor who did the whole thing. It was pretty intense. They did tons of interviews. Transparent. They even scanned my phone, dug through. They have messages I sent to my girlfriend, and I'm like, why is this even relevant? They're like, if you want a thorough one and you want us to be confident in what we're saying, we need to see everything. They went pretty hardcore on it, which is why it ended up taking a couple of months. Because truthfully, when I started this process, I didn't realize how intense it was. But
he said the same 3 things in a loop so far. We haven't moved on to say anything new yet.
I gave him the reins to everything, and yeah, it took longer than I thought. But I don't know. Is there any how else do I prove it besides? I think another thing that missing context.
Yeah, how else do you prove it? By offering to work with a more a separate board that's not lawyers that you hired? There's ways to do that, to act incredulous like there's no other ways that you could have done this. You're saying that this was invasive and bothered you, but there is no, like, indication that that's actually true. In, like, again, Jack's analysis, zero emotion. The way what he's saying is meant to sound like it's ridiculous and absurd, but the way he's saying it is so, what's the word, nonchalant? Like, what? What? I wouldn't take that job. I wouldn't take the job of investigating Mr. Beast, like, thoroughly through all of his shit. No way. No thanks. Pass. Hard pass. It's like when a problematic company says, oh, journalists, come and do a walkthrough. Like when journalists go to, like, North Korea. And they go to North Korea and they're like, oh, look at North Korea. Look at this nice stuff. And they only show them very specific things and they're not allowed to write bad things about North Korea. Right? Like, that's... Like, it's that kind of a scenario. And that's not to say that Jimmy was threatening these people, that Mr. Beast was threatening them. It's just to say that what their job was. And we also don't have the contract. What did you hire them to do? To cover your ass legally? Sure. That's what lawyers do. And they would do so, and likely do so, without tarnishing their own reputation. Which I'm sure they did, which is why that statement is as lawyery of a statement as it could be. And the other problem is something doesn't have to be illegal to be wrong and problematic. Again, we're back to these are specifically vague and generalized issues that he's actually addressing, not the actual criticism. One of the criticisms, for example, is that there's a culture of misogyny and problematic behavior of the employees towards women. That might not be at the point of being illegal, because it takes a while to build a case like that from a legal perspective. So a legal team that Jimmy hired might go in and be like, all right, this is problematic. You let these people go. Legally, you're fine. Yeah, something can be legally sound but morally and ethically bankrupt. And here we are watching Mr. Beast, just the charity guy, right? The guy who made all this money doing all these ethically nice and kind things for people, just throwing these terms around and crossing hairs on this left, right, and center. Do you not find that concerning on its own? He can't even be honest about the lowest tier of criticism. That's concerning.
People don't have is, like, if they found anything illegal, they're obligated to report it to the police. Like,
right.
I
don't think that's true. I'm not convinced that that's a true statement. I'm pretty sure that's not accurate. There's something called mandatory reporters. Lawyers are not mandatory reporters. A lawyer's job is to defend you from a legal sense, regardless of what you did. It's best to be, lawyer-client privilege bars them from doing that thing. What they can't do is perjure themselves to a court. That's what they can't do, where they would then recuse themselves. There are a few exceptions. So, like, if a client that you had schmurdered somebody in front of them, there are extremes, right? But this is not true. This is a lie. That's not how lawyers work. Unbelievable. You're also reading that he is way, way too comfortable just running a narrative that he believes anyone will believe. He thinks he doesn't even have to try, so basically insulting people's intelligence. Well, I think it's a twofold thing. I don't think he personally feels like he's in danger, and I don't think he thinks that Oompaville is going to disagree with him or pressure him or hold his feet to the fire on anything. Like, if there's anything that Oompaville should jump onto, it is that statement. They're obligated to report it to the police. They are not. They are definitively are not. So please, I do hope that Oompaville jumps on this one. Please, 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 please. Come on, God. Come on, I believe in you.
This, like, that's how these things work when they do these investigations. It's not like they could be like, hey, Jimmy, we found this illegal thing. We'll just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, but it's all right, because you paid us.
Yeah, like,
Please. I like you. Stop. What's Oompaville? Is that where I'm from? Probably. Allegedly. Okay. Feline said, since that case, it's now perfectly okay. Oh, sorry. There is this famous case where one lawyer was told where the bodies were of a murder back in the 70s. Per privilege, the lawyer felt obligated to keep quiet despite the hardship it caused for the family of the murdered people. Since that case, it is now perfectly okay to breach the confidentiality to disclose that information. I know what you meant. Yeah, so there are exceptions to the rule, but there's no accusation of schmurder going on here, right? So like there'd be no, like, the confidentiality would be that they would likely not be running off to the police. And again, you're also dealing with accusations of sexual harassment, which are unfortunately a pretty low priority for the police a lot of the time, particularly in America, and also are notoriously difficult and annoying to litigate. So a lot of, like, harassment and sexual misconduct is, like, very much whatever. You know what I mean? Like, people don't deal with it the same way they would schmurder, deal with something like that. There's also, like, a difference between, like, depending on what state you're in, whether or not something is considered, like, an assault or harassment or yada 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 yada, and then you'd have to define, or you'd have to figure out, well, which state did it take place in, because Mr. Beast is, like, around, so it's not like wherever this took place you'd have to decide about whether or not, if somebody were to pursue this legally, whether or not they would be doing it in North Carolina, whether they'd be doing it wherever it took place, so if they were filming on location somewhere, or whether or not, right? There's, like, a lot of legal questions, and a lot of people are not going to want to take Mr. Beast to court over it, particularly when it's already strenuous enough, let alone somebody with so much money. Police are known sexual abusers, hence why they don't take it seriously. Well, the police are also not involved. Mr. Beast and his employees haven't been charged with anything at this point. So that this question about the legality is a moot point anyway. So it's only, like, one part of the criticism as to, yeah, why hasn't this been brought to the police's attention? And, like, maybe it has and we don't know about it. But again, not the fucking point. Not the criticism. Not the issue. The issue of CP and Ava is unique to that individual. The problem that people have is that Jimmy knew about it and participated. That's the ethical concern. That's not inherent. It's not illegal for you to know that somebody is into something and doing sketchy shit and questionable things. That's not illegal. This isn't a legal question. The criticism was not of legal tenure, at least not towards him. There might be people who question, why isn't this illegal, or why is this not a legal question, a legal issue? And that's a fine criticism to have, but that's a criticism of the system at that point, not a criticism of Mr. Beast. And the other question is why is Mr. Ethical Charity Philanthropy Rich Man knowingly participating and allowing this to happen at his company that is directed towards children? That's an ethical question, not necessarily a legal question. So again, we're off in the weeds. This is poisoning the well. This is a detraction. It literally doesn't matter what your internal legal investigation said about whether or not it was true that you knew this thing. This thing was going on. You knew this thing was going on. What do you have to say about that? So address it. You're here to do an interview to address the criticism. No, you're not. That was a lie. It's almost like you've just been lying this whole time so far. To the surprise of fucking nobody. Oh, a red herring. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So it's just in every way. I just don't think people understand. Like, it's
You mean people don't buy your bullshit? Because that was bullshit? That was just a bunch of not true things. Oompaville just sat there and let this piece of shit insult him and his intelligence. Yeah, and then nodded along with him. How does Mr. Beast boot taste? Because he just shoved his foot in your mouth. Ick. Maybe Oompaville doesn't know. Like, right? Like, maybe Oompaville legitimately just doesn't know this piece of information, right? I'm willing to give him that. Like he said at the beginning, he's not a journalist. This isn't what he does. He's a funny, goofy guy. He's just here to enable sort of the conversation. But he questioned Doc back harder than he's questioned Mr. Beast so far. I always have this odd itch that when someone says, so that people understand, that they actually say, let me gaslight you. Yeah. What I think people don't understand. I just think that people don't get this. That's this thing that I just said that was wrong. Because now you're painting people who are critical of what you just said as if they just aren't understanding what you're saying, when what's actually happening is you're bullshitting people who don't know any better, and people do, and you're trying to paint people who do know better as if they're stupid. But maybe I can't Google it, right? Maybe I can't just Google whether or not lawyers are legally obligated to go to the police with information. Right? Right? Fuck you. That was shitty, and I'm gonna hold on to it.
Yeah, it was obviously Coin Emanuel. That's why we paid them, and it was pretty thorough. And
yeah. So, I mean, those are two things that make sense, right? We just covered two back-to-back things that make sense. A, you waited a long time for the investigation, and B, you paid like a very reputable law firm, whatever, to investigate. Both of those.
That's not new information. We all knew this. What are you asking?
Those things make sense logically from your perspective, but also optically from the outside looking in. For people who are just seeing the allegations, they're like, "Oh, this guy looks guilty."
Yeah,
he's
guilty of what? What crime is Mr. Beast being accused of? Specifically. Because all I've seen is of people saying that he knew about this other person and they're skirting the line of CP, or that there was sexual harassment going on, that he knew that these things were happening. That's not a crime. So what's the crime that he's being accused of? I have seen none. Are they in the same room? Yes. Mr. Beast and Oompaville are in the same room together.
Building this big sort of law team, and he's not responding, and he's like it. So it's kind of it's.
But he still did that. I'm going to remind you, by the way, like, he did this investigation with this law firm, but he still had other lawyers sending legal paperwork to people like Dogpack, right? So those are two different things. We're now Oompaville is conflating these two other things, right? He's conflating the legal actions and other legal shit that Mr. Beast was doing in the background with this investigation. I don't even think those are the same firm, from my understanding. Maybe I'm incorrect, but from my understanding, Mr. Beast has his own lawyers, and then he hired this other party of lawyers to do this audit, basically. And he did an audit for legal ramifications. Remember, body language analysis is mostly bullshit. No, it's not. Body language analysis is not viable for certain things within the court of law. Body language is a massive, massive part of communication and understanding who you're talking about. Listening is one part of communication. Looking and seeing how someone is sitting, how they're presenting their argument. Saying somebody definitively lied because they looked in a direction, that's bullshit. But understanding the way people communicate, both verbally as well as like whether or not they're making eye contact, whether or not how they're sitting, whether or not they're trying to get away from you by wanting to walk away, those are all legit things. Are they definitive alone and by themselves? No. Is it something that somebody should be sent to jail over? Absolutely not. Body language is a legit form of study and communication.
It's kind of bizarre and unfortunate because like it does make sense. Like from a logical perspective.
I mean, because there's two things I could do. I could do an internal investigation.
Yeah,
but that's
great idea.
Because I don't want to audit myself.
Let your mom do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let my mom do it, or I could do an external one. That's what we did, and
that's a very funny joke where they just kind of breezed over that Jimmy's mom is head of his HR department, which was one of the other criticisms. But, you know.
From a logical perspective.
I mean, because there's two things I could do. I could do an internal investigation.
Yeah,
but that's
great idea.
Because I don't want to audit myself.
Let your mom do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let my mom do it, or I could do an external one. That's what we did, and
false dichotomy. False dichotomy that does not actually, again, not address the criticism. The criticism was that he knew that this was going on, not that he did something illegal. People might question about whether or not there is legal ramifications for that thing, and that investigation might tell you that there are no legal ramifications of that thing. Sure, you might be willing to believe that, but that, again, doesn't address the criticism regardless. But also, false dichotomy. You had more than two options.
And again, it's like, because I didn't have control over it, obviously, if I did, I would have been like, bro, do this in 2 weeks so I can get this out there. Like, I didn't want it to take months, but I mean, that's part of an external investigation. You don't have control over it.
Now, would you consider, so you obviously regret the remaining silent, would you consider?
He doesn't obviously regret things. He says, well, it's too bad. Would I have done things differently if I had a time machine? Yes. But hasn't described what those things were or how, and clearly is very flippant about that. So I don't think he regrets anything.
That the third-party investigation as a whole, in looking back, would that have been would you say that's a mistake?
No, I just think I would push back on, like, do I really have to be silent? Like, can I just, like, do this thing? You know, like, go clap back on some of these things. But, you know, like, some of these things, people were apparently talking to ex-employees or whatever. And so it just gets muddy because I really didn't want the integrity of the investigation to, like, you know, be in question or anything. So
again, conflating issues. You locking somebody in a box for days and you doing an internal investigation about sexual misconduct around another individual are two different things. If you were to address this thing, it's not going to be a problem for this thing. So you're just using the investigation as an excuse as to why you didn't address other unrelated problems, instead of just what you're here to do, which is supposedly address these things' problems.
I was like super paranoid where I was like, okay, this is what they said. I don't want to push back or anything. But yeah, obviously in hindsight, like, I mean, a lot of these things that were just blatantly lies. Like, if I just clap back instantly, people were just like, okay, cool, and moved on.
Would you consider making some details of the investigation that have yet to be seen public? Obviously, there's like a level of confidentiality that is required legally.
Exactly, yeah.
But like, is there anything?
Well, that's the thing. Like, what we put out as much as we could, but I mean, obviously, they did dozens of interviews, including, you know, alleged people who were victims, and I mean, like I said, my message to my girlfriend, like they gathered a lot. So I don't really
So this is a little bit of a side note, but one of the people who was like the big thing around Ava claims that he is not a victim and he doesn't have an issue with their relationship, right? From my understanding. I'm besides going into the details of that, which are important in their own right, but not quite what I want to talk about, it's that you can be a victim of something and not acknowledge that or agree with that. So sometimes whether or not someone is factually or not a victim, whether or not they acknowledge that or believe that or feel that themselves is sometimes irrelevant to that scenario. If I was abused by somebody and they beat the shit out of me and there's pictures of me getting the shit kicked out of them and there's video of it and it is definitively this person that's beating the shit out of me and I'm like, no, I was never in an abusive relationship, I was happy with that relationship, does that mean I'm not a victim of abuse? No. My word on that gets circumcised by all of the evidence of me being abused. So whether or not, so this is the same argument that Andrew Tate gives. Because not every girl says he assaulted them, therefore he's never assaulted anybody, or these girls aren't making accusations against them or say that they're not victims, means that he never did anything wrong or illegal. That's not how it works. So even if somebody who was and again, so like in Ava's situation, this individual may or may not believe that they are a victim of grooming, for example. Stockholm Syndrome isn't quite real. That's a Hollywood thing. But this person may or may not believe that they were groomed, right? But that doesn't mean that they were or they were not, definitively, nor by law, because that's a whole other layer. Yeah, no, to be clear, if, like, just in side chat, I'm watching this stuff going on, people are allowed to block whoever they want here. You don't have to necessarily have done something or not done something. People are allowed to interact with whomever they wish to interact with. So if somebody doesn't want to interact with you, they don't have to, like, justify that. So, one way or another, regardless, no harm, no foul.
Really think I can. I mean, there's a lot of sensitive data and information in there. You
know? What about like a just to back up your claims to their
but things on like how like they did it independently and they weren't biased, like that side. I mean, I don't really know what people would want to see, but yeah, I mean, we can figure it out.
Just from what I know about like.
You don't know what people want to see, but you could figure it out. So you are now acknowledging that you know that there are two options, more than two options, you just don't know what they are and don't have the resources to find out. Sure, Jan.
Retainer contracts with lawyers and working with, you know, third-party investigations, things like, which I don't have any experience with anything that big, obviously.
Yeah.
But maintaining a level of compliance, like, I mean, if there's like a retainer contract, something showing that, you know, you shouldn't.
Now, this is where I'm ignorant. Like, I don't even know really what a retainer contract is. But
I mean, like
if there's any way I could, of course.
Like your third party saying, Jimmy, don't talk. Like, just basically giving credence to what you're saying even more so. More evidence of what you're saying.
Again, that would still only apply to the investigation and what that investigation is about, not the other allegations, not the other stuff that came out. So it would apply to the Ava and sexual misconduct thing exclusively, not the other ethical concerns. So again, irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something I'd have to like go talk to the team on. But,
yeah,
I mean,
that would help.
If that's something where people desperately want transparency, I mean, we can figure something out.
Yeah, I that would just help me. I'm not sure if people, honestly, I don't know if people would give a fuck.
Yeah, but, I don't know either.
I would
like, because if people are like, we think Quinn Emanuel's biased, like even no matter what I show them, if they think a top tier law firm would willingly potentially tank their rep for me, like I don't know if there's anything that's ever
it's foolish.
They don't have to. That's again, we're back to this misnomer. They can be biased, because they're your lawyers. It's their job to protect you through this investigation. The job of the investigation is to ensure you are not breaking any laws, not to expose any wrongdoings done by you. Again, we are conflating 17 different things. You want to talk about things getting muddy? You're muddying it on purpose, intentionally. I don't know what else to tell you. This is absurd.
Right.
Yeah,
it is foolish. And it makes sense, but once again, it's like optically there is a very easy lowest common denominator way to look at stuff.
Yeah.
And
Oompaville looks really tense. And I don't mean that in like a critical way. I just mean like I'm looking at him and he looks a little stressed out. I don't blame him. This seems a really stressful situation.
Also, what I would say to those people is I'm here, so it's not like I'm like maybe that argument would work if I just never did anything, but I'm here, so
in the lion's den.
The fuck is that supposed to mean? That you went to an admittedly inexperienced person to talk about things you don't understand? The fuck is that supposed to do? What do you mean? He hasn't even answered a single question. He hasn't addressed a single criticism properly yet.
Yes. Controlled opposition towards me. Hey, also, I'd love
that was Oompaville acknowledging that he's not holding Mr. Beast's feet to the fire and that he's not the most competent person to be doing this. Which, again, is something he said at the beginning. He said at the beginning that he's, like, not the guy to be doing this. So, that's just him acknowledging that, and that's him mocking Mr. Beast tacitly by saying that, like, so what? You're here? Oh yeah, you're really in the lion's den, right? Yeah, okay.
I'd love to say, I don't know if he's posting this chronologically or whatnot, but I mean, he also did interview Dogpack multiple times, so it's because I could have done this with anyone, but I think this one makes sense because you've literally had the other side on here, so
yeah, and
that's why you, Mr. Beast, chose this. Why would that matter?
Also, to be clear as well, I have not signed like an NDA or
fuck.
I mean, there's genuinely nothing that's been signed. You haven't given me $1 million.
No. Hey, you should say I haven't given you a penny.
A penny. Okay, yeah.
You gave me 999.
Nothing. You've given me.
No, you can go the other way and say he didn't give me a penny. He actually gave me $500,000. Like that doesn't matter. Jack for 10 said, okay, feet pointing away from interviewer, eyes to the right a lot, creative thought, legs up, shielding himself. That leg hasn't come down since I've been here. Yeah, no, his leg has been up the entire time. Correct. Yeah, the leg is the defensive posture. The being uncomfortable, but like he's using his leg to keep himself sitting backwards to make it look more like that face is not the face of comfort. I mean, neither of them are very comfortable, which like that's not inherently necessarily a bad thing. Like you would think that going into this kind of interview, you wouldn't be comfortable. But the fact that this is so like he hasn't gotten any pushback yet. Oompaville hasn't pushed him back on a single thing yet. And there's some really problematic things. Like, even besides the fact that I'm nitpicking, like, I am obviously going through this and I can pause it, right? Oompaville can't do that. He could put out a video afterwards, right? And come up with, like, annotations or commentary on it if he wanted to. That's fine. Whatever. If he does. If he doesn't, I don't, whatever. But I can stop this at any point and be like, okay, well, hold on. Now we have to unpack that. But even not being able to do that, there are a handful of things that Mr. Beast have said. Like, Oompaville should, right, going into this, he should know what the criticisms are. Like, he should have them, like the direct criticism, this is what it is. So he should know that there hasn't been any legal accusations. Like, none of them are legal, that he should know that there's no police reports, there's no against Mr. Beast, right? So when Mr. Beast says, well, I've been cleared legally, Oompaville should be responding with, why does that matter? You're, like, the criticisms are moral and ethical questions, not legal questions. And that would have skipped 15 minutes of, like, just this circle of... So far, this is a circle jerk where they've just said the same thing over and over again for 15 minutes.
Nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually just, it's kind of interesting. It really is interesting. This is a bold move, I would consider. It's quite.
What? You think that him going onto your platform to do an interview where you haven't asked him a single question or held his feet to the fire about anything so far is a bold move? Come on. What? Come on. You already made fun of that it wasn't a bold move because you sarcastically called yourself the Lion's Den, like, clearly, and you started this video by saying, oh, well, you know, I don't really know what I'm doing. Why would that, like, Jimmy thinks he can take advantage of you, and you agree with him. Like, that's, so why would this be bold?
Quite a bold move.
And it's even more bold because I'm never vulnerable on camera, and like,
yeah,
Oh, well, now that you've complimented Lay, let me tell you how even more of that compliment applies to me. In an interview that's supposed to be dealing with the criticisms that I've faced, you know, Piers Morgan has a YouTube channel now where he interviewed Andrew Tate. Mr. Beast probably could have gone on with Piers Morgan and had that done. If he wanted to, that would have been bold. That would have been bold, and he probably would have gotten his ass kicked. Let's be real.
It's from a lot of perspectives, it is quite bold. And it's not like I haven't been critical. I feel like I've been fairly critical. I feel, and it, like, talking to you, I feel bad, you know, obviously because I'm a...
Why? Why would you feel bad for being critical and asking legitimate questions? If you were being unfair, then sure, you can feel bad for being unfair. But then why aren't you asking him about your criticisms? Because you haven't done that yet either. I don't understand. What was the point of this? Was the point to just let Jimmy go and pony off of credibility that Oompaville has built over his years on YouTube so he could shit all over it? And so because Jimmy didn't have very much credibility and none of his friends that do this shit wanted to talk to him or push his narrative on his behalf, that he went to Oompaville to do it for him? The way you overcome the accusation of being a shill is by being fair in your criticism and by being fair in your information coverage. Not by being overly nice to someone you've criticized, because now you're playing fake neutral. You're leaning on the scales here to make it seem like it's fair when it's clearly so stilted and one-sided.
There's different levels to how much you care about shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is, if there were a testament, it would be that would be a testament to this being being a meaningful source of information in this video, I feel.
There has not been a piece of meaningful information that has been given to me in this video, except that Mr. Beast went to YouTubers to try to get them to push shit on his behalf. And they told him no. That is the only new piece of information, and that is the only piece of information that I personally find interesting. Otherwise, there's been nothing new. It's just been he's just been spitting bullshit. Jimmy has been doing YouTube since he was 14. Let that sink in. Yeah. Mr. Beast's creepy smile counter broken. Yeah, no, I don't know what goes on with Jimmy's face. He's always made me a little bit uncomfortable, but, you know, whatever. I feel like he's got, like, that dead eye, no top lip. gives me a little bit of the ick. That's not true. I don't feel icky. I just, like, I look at him and I'm just like, I always get, like, a little bit of a,
feel like. I hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get to that.
Outside my comfort zone, but I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so that's
Huh? But he's not being vulnerable. There was nothing vulnerable about anything he said so far. He's just been spinning bullshit and blaming other people and not addressing the criticism. You already made fun of that you're not going to be the one asking him any difficult questions and that you already feel bad for being critical of him in the first place, which tells me that he's not fucking being vulnerable and he's just there to fucking bullshit to you because he doesn't think you're gonna do anything about it. Oh, good God. Alright, they're moving on to another set of questions, so we're gonna stop there because we've been live for nearly 2 hours. If not 2 hours, I don't know. Yeah. An hour and 50 minutes. Like I said, we're gonna go through this. It's gonna be really, really thorough. I'm gonna be stopping at, like, everything, because I want to, like, hit everything that at least I noticed. If you guys notice things that I don't, feel free to let me know. If you notice something in the comments, like, I read them. Let me know. If you're a Mr. Beast fan, are you okay? Like, you do understand that he is not addressed a single criticism yet. And again, it's not like Dogpack went in without, like, he went into this knowing that he would likely be facing legal ramifications. So there's a level of confidence there that is not being portrayed by Oompaville and Mr. Beast in this video. Again, there was already a clip where he said, I could go to jail. Okay, because he didn't, you notice that little clip, it's legal now, yeah, I could go to jail, and then they went in about how he was legally cleared. Well, in what way, what have you done then that makes you think you could go to jail over it? We haven't gotten to that. That just went away. So I don't know. Mr. Beast fans are children, so how could they understand? If you are a child and you have come across my channel, I'm sorry, this place is not for you. Go away. Go find a channel that's kid friendly. This is not a space for children. Mr. Beast Burger was mid. Honestly, I'm in Canada. Never saw one. Heard there was legal ramifications and issues with that, but I don't know. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. For anybody interested in Puck updates, his blood work is now in the all clear. His levels have gone back to normal. They were basically out of whack when he went and got his cancer treatment. His cancer treatment was getting his toe lopped off, so he is now missing one toe bean. So he is sans a toe bean. He's recovered from that just fine. He's super energetic. He's super hyper. He's super into the snow. He has now also gone back 2 times for separate blood work. The second time, the levels were still a little bit off, but getting better, and now his levels are fantastic. And for anybody who's curious, he has lost some weight, and so anybody who's curious about how much he weighs about 75 pounds right now. At his heaviest, he was like at 120. Now he's at 70, around 75, 80 pounds. But I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back talking about this more probably tomorrow. And for anybody interested, Mert Mart opens at 4 p.m. over on Twitch. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much. We are 16 minutes into this, and this does not look good. Have a good day, everybody.
This guy is unfucking believable.